The War Senate chamber was built to make a throat feel small. Its ceiling arched in black alloy ribs, gold veins catching the light like frozen lightning. Seats climbed in steep tiers, each occupied by a lord in lacquered armor or court silk, crests flaring above their shoulders. At the center stood a bare dais, reserved for people whose value was measured in facts. Sale Vaya stepped onto it and let silence do its work. He was old for a Dominion servant, hide paling at the jaw, fingers stained with archive ink. He wore no blade. Only a chain of memory beads at his neck, sealed records of wars the Dominion swore it had learned from. Across the ring, High Admiral Dravik Kaur looked perfectly at home. His uniform was pristine, his medals bright, his smile crafted to suggest inevitability. Behind him hovered a hologram of the burning spear armada. Ships arranged like a spearhead pointed toward the Veli's corridor. Dravik's voice carried with practiced warmth. Archivist. Our scouts report the Terran Compact holds Veli's with traders and relief craft. Soft hulls. Softer resolve. He spread his hands. Tell our honored lords how long it will take to break the humans. Amusement fluttered through the tiers. Sale could have offered numbers. The Senate loved numbers. Instead, he lifted a memory bead between thumb and forefinger. Honored lords, he said, steady. Permission to play a recovered recording from the Cinder Belt incident. A senator with a silver crest scoffed. Piracy. Irrelevant. It began as piracy, Sale replied. It ended as instruction. Dravik made a show of magnanimity. Let him. Sale touched the bead to the dais. Light unfolded, grainy footage of a crippled station spinning slowly, habitat rings torn open. In the foreground, a human in a cracked suit clung to twisted railing. The human's voice came through tired, almost gentle. We're not here to conquer you, it said. We're here to make sure you can't do this to anyone ever again. Static. Darkness. For a heartbeat, the Senate forgot its appetite. Dravik recovered first, smile intact. A dying enemy speaking poetry. Sale didn't look away. That enemy was a logistics officer. The Cinder Belt belonged to the Ralka Imperium. They fought humans for 6 months. They won battles. They took shipyards. He let the word settle. Then their gate network failed. Their convoys vanished. Their client systems revolted. The Imperium didn't surrender. It stopped functioning. A murmur rose, unease, curiosity, irritation. A lord leaned forward. How did humans do that? Sale brought up overlays, convoy routes, fuel ledgers, gate schedules. They targeted dependencies. They bribed dockmasters. They jammed military routing while leaving civilian lanes open. They flooded command circles with verified leaks, corruption, theft, falsified reports, until admirals doubted their own officers. They didn't need to take worlds. They made the Imperium unable to keep them. Dravik's eyes glittered. We are not the Ralka. Our discipline is iron. Discipline does not create fuel, Sale said. Nor food. Nor spare parts. A senator snapped, our fleets are larger. And hungrier, Sale answered. Your warships drink gate throughput. Your armies march on convoys. Your client systems survive on shipments routed through Veli's. You have built an empire that is a chain, strong in links, fragile at joints. Dravik rose, slow and theatrical. Perhaps age has made you timid, archivist. Perhaps you've grown fond of Concord treaties. He turned to the Senate. We should not be ruled by fear of merchants. Sale felt the chamber tilt toward Dravik's certainty. He needed something sharper than warnings. He drew a thin, unmarked data slate, illegal inside the chamber, and placed it on the dais. Humans have already seen us coming. He opened one intercepted packet. Terran script scrolled, then translated into Dominion glyphs. We see your fuel movements. We see your gate reservations. Do not do this. The timestamp was hours old. The laughter died fully this time. The speaker of war, ancient and scarred, leaned forward. How did you obtain that? By listening, Sale said. While others applauded. Dravik's smile tightened. A bluff. If it is, Sale replied, then we lose nothing by speaking first. He bowed. Grant me emergency envoy status. Let me go to Velize, offer withdrawal and compensation. Let us trade pride for survival. Argument erupted. Hawks demanded immediate authorization to strike. Moderates demanded cost models. A few, very quiet, asked what it would mean if Sale was right. The speaker raised both hands. Envoy status granted, he declared. You will go. You will speak. The Armada continues to mobilize. We will not be shamed by threats. Dravik inclined his head, gracious as a blade. Of course. As he turned away, Dravik's aides exchanged looks, silent, satisfied. Sale caught one of them tapping a coded signal into a wrist console, the kind used for orders that never appear on official rosters. Sale left the chamber with his face composed and his thoughts moving faster than his feet. Outside, the corridors smelled of incense and hot circuitry. Guards stood like statues, hands near weapons. A shadow detached from an alcove. Archivist Veya, whispered Councillor Taran, one of the speaker's aides. This was placed in your vault an hour ago. No delivery record. He held out a sealed cylinder stamped with archival black. Someone wants you to find it, Taran added, or wants you dead for finding it. Sale took the cylinder. In his private archive room, he barred the door and broke the seal. Cold air breathed out, old data, old secrets. Inside lay a shard drive labeled in the Dominion's most restricted code. Velize Incident. Human Termination Protocols. His pulse tightened. He slotted the shard into a reader. A title page bloomed, followed by a warning in stark glyphs. If initiated, the humans will not stop at the fleet. Sale stared until the letters steadied. Beyond the thick walls, he heard the faint thrum of engines waking, ships being provisioned, weapons being armed, an empire choosing certainty over memory. Sale touched the chain at his neck, feeling the smooth beads like small, cold planets. Then he began to read. Velize Gate 9 looked nothing like a fortress. Sale Veya had expected walls, guns, banners, something an empire would recognize as defiance. Instead, the hub floated like a small city stitched to a ring of folded spacetime. Cargo pods drifted in orderly lanes. Tugs nudged pallets toward docking arms. A hospital barge eased past with its lights dimmed to a soft amber. Even at a distance, the place felt, lived in. His shuttle latched onto a reception cradle. The airlock cycled with a whisper. A human attendant in a plain uniform waited beyond the threshold, holding a tablet rather than a weapon. Ambassador Sale Veya, she asked. Envoy, Sale corrected out of habit. Dominion titles mattered. Human faces didn't. The attendant's expression stayed neutral. I'm Leah. Please follow the blue line. Director Elias will see you. A line of light sprang to life on the deck and flowed forward like spilled paint. Sale followed it through corridors that smelled faintly of antiseptic and roasted grain. The station's hum was constant, not martial, an industrial heartbeat. People moved with purpose, engineers with tool belts, medics with stained sleeves, dockhands guiding a rolling crate. No one stared at him like he was a trophy. A few glanced, then went back to work. That bothered him more than hostility would have. He'd brought his best argument, fear. Yet this place looked built around something else. The meeting room was glass-walled, overlooking a spine of docking bays. In the center stood a table with no ornate crest, only a projection lattice embedded in the surface. Director Mara Elias waited there, hands behind her back. She was shorter than he expected. Dark hair pulled tight. Eyes like someone who'd spent years learning how disasters behave. Envoy Veya, she said, voice level. Sit. We've already cleared a channel for your return if you survive your Senate's enthusiasm. Sale sat carefully, keeping his posture composed. You expected an attack. We expected the possibility. Mara tapped the table. A projection rose. Dominion fleet movements, fuel transfers, gate reservations. It was his own data, but assembled cleaner, with margins of uncertainty marked like surgical cuts. Sale's throat tightened. How did you? You spend enough time keeping trade alive, you learn where war hides. She leaned forward. Why are you here? To threaten? To bargain? Or to save your people from the mistake they're about to make? The directness struck him like cold water. Dominion diplomacy wrapped blades in velvet. Humans seemed to put them on the table. Sale inhaled slowly. To prevent escalation. Admiral Dravik Kaur is driving a strike plan through our war senate. He believes Vilis will fall quickly. Mara didn't smile. Dravik believes what he needs to believe. The question is what your system rewards. Our system rewards victory, Sale said before he could stop himself, then corrected. Or the appearance of it. Then you're already in trouble. Mara gestured toward the station beyond the glass. Do you know what this hub is? It's not a throne. It's an artery. We keep it open because billions depend on it, human and non-human. That's why it's defended. Not for glory. For continuity. Sale watched a line of cargo pods drift toward a gate aperture, vanishing in a shimmer. You don't look like a military command. I'm not, Mara replied. I run strategic stabilization. We make sure bad days don't become dark centuries. The title sounded harmless. Her tone didn't. Sale slid his shard drive across the table. I found this in our sealed archives. The label is concerning. Mara didn't touch it immediately. She studied Sale as if weighing whether he was bait. You brought classified Dominion material into my station. I'm gambling my life on your caution, Sale said. If Dravik acts, your response could kill my empire. Mara finally picked up the shard drive and rolled it between her fingers, reading the Dominion stamp. Termination protocols. Your people have a talent for melodrama. It may not be melodrama, Sale said quietly. Our records claim you do not stop at fleets. Mara set the shard down. We stop at the threat. But threats live in systems, envoy, not in uniforms. Before Sale could ask what that meant, the room's lighting shifted, barely perceptible. The station's hum changed pitch. Leah appeared at the doorway, face tighter. Director. Long-range sensors. Unscheduled mass translation at corridor vector. Mara didn't flinch. Show it. A new projection bloomed in the air. Dozens of Dominion signatures dropping out of slipspace in a spear formation. Dravik's fleet. Close enough to be obscene. Sale's stomach sank. He moved faster than he told the Senate. Of course, Mara said softly, as if confirming a grim hypothesis. She tapped another control. The glass wall's tint deepened, displaying tactical overlays across the docking bays. Director, Leah said, we have civilian lanes active. 3 hospital barges inbound. 200 I know. Mara's voice sharpened. Initiate ring evac protocol. Keep the med bays running. Open emergency berths. Route civilians through interior corridors. Don't stampede them. Sale stared. No shouted orders. No panic. The station's motion became choreographed, like a city practicing for fire. Mara looked at him. You didn't stop it. I tried, Sale said, heat climbing his throat. I'm not a commander. No, Mara agreed. You're a witness. That can still matter. A chime sounded, calm as a doorbell. The station speakers activated with Mara's voice, gentle, steady. Attention, all hands. This is a safety event. Follow guidance lights. Assist anyone who needs help. Dock crews, secure loose cargo. Med teams, prepare triage. We have trained for this. Breathe. Sale rose from his seat. If they fire on the gate. They won't hit the gate, Mara said. Not if they want to use it afterward. And if they don't care. Mara's eyes hardened. Then we care for them. A tight beam transmission pinged across the room systems. Dominion encryption, Dravik's signature. Mara didn't accept it immediately. She let it wait like an insult. Sale nodded toward the pending message. He'll demand surrender. Let him talk. Mara accepted the channel. Dravik's face appeared in the air, larger than life, framed by the crimson crest of the burning spear. He looked pleased with himself, like a predator arriving at a watering hole. "Terran Station," Dravik announced, voice amplified by arrogance. "You sit upon Dominion interests. Power down your defenses. Open your docks. You will be treated with lenience if you do not resist." Mara's reply was quiet. "High Admiral Kor, you are currently aiming weapons at civilian infrastructure. Stand down. We will negotiate under neutral terms." Dravik laughed. "Negotiate? With a compact that hides behind commerce? You mistake patience for strength." Mara's gaze flicked to Sale, then back. "No. We understand strength. That's why we're offering you an exit." Dravik leaned closer to the camera, eyes bright. "Your exit is surrender. You have 1 minute." The transmission cut. Sale felt his limbs go cold. He's going to do it. Mara turned to Leah. "Time to impact." 52 seconds, Leah said. "Multiple launch signatures." Mara nodded once. "Activate curtain." Outside the glass, sections of the station's outer ring unfolded. Panels shifting, lattice arms rotating. Tiny points of light flashed into existence, forming a translucent web between the approaching fleet and the station. Intercept drones, shield projectors, micrometeor grids. Not a wall. A net. Sale watched as a hospital barge veered toward an inner dock. Dock hands ran alongside it, guiding it in. No one screamed. They moved like people who had learned what fear costs. The first Dominion missiles arrived as bright streaks. The net caught them. Some detonated in hard flashes, their fire swallowed by overlapping fields. Others were plucked out of flight by drones that sacrificed themselves without hesitation. The impact shook the room anyway, a deep vibration through Sale's bones. A warning light pulsed. The station held. Then came beams, thin lines of lethal light that carved toward the hub. Mara's defenses didn't meet them with larger beams. They bent space instead, shifting the angles so that energy lanced past into empty dark. A few shots scored the outer plating, tearing molten grooves. The station shuddered again, but the docking bays remained intact. Dravik's first wave of boarding craft appeared. Small, aggressive darts. "Boarders," Leah said. Mara's voice didn't rise. "Seal the outer collars. Let them latch where we want them. Security teams to nodes 3 through 7. Non-lethal first. If they force escalation, we respond accordingly." Non-lethal. Against invaders. Sale stared at her. "Why spare them?" Mara's jaw flexed. "Because if we become what Dravik tells his people we are, we lose the war even if we win the fight." A new message flashed, human networks, routed through the corridor gates. Mara opened it on the projection. Simple text, broadcast wide. "Withdraw. Ceasefire channels open. If you continue, we will disable your capacity to wage war." Sale felt the weight of that promise. Not a threat of annihilation, something colder. Something methodical. The station rocked again. Somewhere distant, metal screamed. Leah's voice cut in, sharp. "Director, gate routing just changed. Corridor traffic patterns." Mara's eyes narrowed as she read the incoming data. Then she looked at Sale with an expression that wasn't triumph, or rage, or fear. It was decision. "Envoy," she said, "your admiral just started a war he doesn't understand." Sale swallowed. "And you're going to end it?" Mara glanced toward the burning streaks beyond the glass, toward the lives moving through lit corridors, toward the shimmering gate that still pulsed like a heartbeat. "We're going to stop it," she corrected. "And when we're finished, your empire will still exist, if you're smart enough to let it." Outside, the net held, and the corridor itself began to change, quietly, inexorably, as if the galaxy had started rearranging its rules. The war did not announce itself with explosions. It began with delays. 3 hours after the first exchange at Veli's Gate 9, Dominion Fleet Quartermaster Command issued a routine notice. Transit rescheduled, cause pending. The message slid through channels without urgency. By the time captains realized it wasn't an error, fuel clocks were already ticking. Sail Vaya watched the cascade from a quiet operations room aboard the human station. The space smelled of recycled air and hot circuitry. Screens lined the walls, each displaying a different artery of the Dominion war machine. Convoys, gates, depots, reserve fleets. One by one, lines shifted from green to amber. Mara Elias stood behind him, hands clasped, eyes tracking patterns rather than symbols. "You're not firing back," Sail said. "We are," Mara replied. "Just not where your admiral is looking." A Dominion destroyer group reported a navigation fault near the Karth Passage. 2 hours later, a munitions tender missed its slot and was shunted into a holding loop with civilian traffic. Somewhere else, a payroll transfer failed authentication and froze an entire battle group's discretionary funds. None of it was dramatic. All of it mattered. Sail leaned closer to the display. "These are small things." "Small things end wars," Mara said. "Large things end cities." A priority alert pulsed crimson. Sail opened it instinctively. Client system rev. Food shipment missed window. Requesting clarification. Then another. Fleet Group 7. Spare parts delayed. Readiness degraded. Sail felt a pressure behind his eyes. "You're touching civilian lanes." "We're protecting them," Mara corrected. "We didn't close the gates. We rebalanced access. Your military traffic competes with the lives it depends on. That was always true. You just never had to notice." Across the room, Leah coordinated teams with clipped efficiency. "Director, Dominion secure channels are fragmenting. They're switching to redundancies." Mara nodded. "Let them. Each switch costs time. Time costs coherence." Sales console chimed, a direct Dominion channel, encrypted and frantic. He accepted it. Admiral Reth Valken's face appeared, sweat beading along his brow. "Archivist, what is happening? My fuel allotment was halved without authorization." Sail hesitated. He could lie. He could stall. He didn't. "It's happening because the war you were ordered to fight has no margin," Sail said. "Withdraw your ships. Preserve your crews." Retha's jaw tightened. "High Admiral Corps has forbidden." "Corps cannot deliver fuel," Sail interrupted. "Or food. Or legitimacy. Decide which orders keep your people alive." The channel cut. Not in anger. In thought. Mara watched Sail closely. "You're burning bridges." Sail met her gaze. "I'm building lifeboats." Hours passed. Dominion command feeds grew contradictory. Orders overlapped, cancelled, reissued. Fleet captains began requesting confirmation from multiple authorities. Each pause widened the fracture. Then the first leak hit public channels. It wasn't a human broadcast. It was Dominion data, authenticated, time-stamped, showing Dravok Corps diverting relief supplies from a client famine zone to provision the burning Spear Armada. The reaction was immediate. Client worlds demanded explanations. Senators demanded answers. Dravok's media wing countered with accusations of human fabrication. Mara didn't respond. Instead, another file surfaced, this one showing Corps aides falsifying casualty reports from prior annexations. Then another, secret accounts, routed through shell polities, swollen with tribute credits. Sail stared at the scrolling evidence. "You're dismantling him." "We're letting gravity work," Mara said. "Truth falls fastest when nothing holds it up." A tremor ran through the station, not from weapons fire, but from a jump translation nearby. A Dominion cruiser limped into view, shields flickering. Its weapons ports were cold. "Director," Leah said softly, "they're requesting medical assistance." Mara didn't hesitate. "Dock them. Full triage." Sail's breath caught. "You're aiding an enemy ship." "They're people," Mara replied, "already moving. And this is how wars stop." The boarding teams came next. Dravok, furious at losing tempo, ordered punitive action against a client system that had delayed its tithe. The strike was meant to restore fear. It restored something else. Footage leaked within minutes, cities burning under Dominion fire, civilians fleeing into dust. The source was a Dominion sensor platform, its encryption keys somehow compromised. Sale felt sick. He's lost control. He never had it, Mara said. He had momentum. Another alert flared, Dominion internal security, false flag alert. Leah stiffened. Director, we're seeing a fabricated incident. A hospital ship, Dominion registry, attacked. They're blaming us. Sale's blood went cold. He's framing you. Mara's eyes hardened. He's trying to unify his people through rage. The footage played, human markings crudely overlaid on the strike vector, timestamps misaligned by seconds. To a frightened population, it would look convincing. Sale moved before he finished thinking. I can prove it's false. Mara turned. How? The timing. The drive signatures. Dominion plasma residue has a spectral notch your reactors don't produce. He paused. But releasing that proof will tear my Senate apart. Mara didn't soften her voice. And not releasing it will let him burn more worlds. Silence stretched between them, taut as wire. Sale opened a secure archive channel, one he had sworn never to use without unanimous Senate consent. I need access to your forensic analysts. You have it, Mara said. And Sale, if you do this, there's no going back. He gave a thin smile. History rarely offers returns. The proof assembled with brutal clarity. Trajectory mismatches. Residue signatures. Internal Dominion comms ordering the strike minutes before the supposed human attack. Sale transmitted it through a network of client worlds, neutral observers, and, crucially, mid-level Dominion officers whose loyalty still lay with their crews. The reaction was not immediate. Then it was everywhere. Dravok's image flooded channels, shouting denial. Senators argued live. Fleets hesitated. One provincial armada publicly refused his orders and declared conditional neutrality. Dravok responded by ordering Sale's arrest. The warrant arrived with chilling precision. Director, Leah said, Dominion security teams are en route. They have authorization to seize Envoy Vaya. Mara looked at Sale. I can protect you. Sale shook his head. If I hide, he wins the story. Let them come. They didn't reach him. Halfway through transit, the security team's ship lost gate priority. Then fuel access. Then command uplink. The crew mutinied quietly, turned around, and requested asylum at a Concord port. Dravok's voice erupted across open channels, stripped of Polish. This is treason, he roared. I will cleanse. The transmission cut mid-syllable. Mara exhaled slowly. We disabled his command net. Not the ships. Just the spine. Sale sagged into a chair, exhaustion crashing in. How many dead? Mara checked a report. Fewer than if he'd been allowed to continue. Outside the viewport, the Veli's corridor glimmered with traffic rerouting, civilian lanes flowing, military lanes thinning. Sale closed his eyes. He won't stop. No, Mara said. He'll try something desperate. Sale looked at her. And you? Mara met his gaze, unblinking. We'll stop the threat. Then we'll leave you something to govern. Alarm sounded again, not panicked, but sharp. Leah's voice cut through. Director. Dravok's flagship just powered up a gate denial sequence. Sale felt the old fear return. Colder now. Mara straightened. Then it's time. For what? To show your admiral, she said, the difference between fighting a war and ending one. Dravok Corps' flagship hung at the edge of Veli's like a clenched fist. Its hull bristled with weapons it no longer had permission to fire. Power surged inward instead, feeding the gate denial array, an ugly, desperate device meant to poison the corridor, collapse transit stability, and strand every ship within range. It was the kind of weapon commanders chose when legacy mattered more than lives. Sale Vaya watched the build-up from the human operations deck, numbers ticking down with merciless precision. If he triggers it, Sale said, the corridor becomes a graveyard. For months, Mara Elias replied. Maybe longer. Can you stop it? Mara didn't answer immediately. She studied the flagship's telemetry, its crew count, the distribution of power nodes. Then she looked at Sail, and for the first time there was no steel in her expression, only resolve. We can stop him. The operation unfolded without flourish. No armada surged forward. No thunder of guns. Human ships slid into position like quiet punctuation marks, their signatures deliberately visible. Jamming fields narrowed, not to blind, but to isolate. Dravok's flagship found itself speaking only to itself. A channel opened. Dravok's face appeared, contorted with fury and something close to panic. You think you've won, he spat. You hide behind restraint while my people starve because of you. Mara stepped forward. Your people are starving because you broke the systems that fed them. You sabotaged. We rebalanced access, Mara said. We protected civilians. We offered terms. You chose escalation. Dravok laughed, sharp and hollow. You think mercy makes you strong? No, Mara said. It makes us precise. A new display lit the room, human boarding teams approaching the flagship, not as a swarm, but as pairs. Their paths avoided reactor clusters, life support junctions, crew quarters. Sail realized what she was doing. You're not disabling the ship. Mara shook her head. We're removing his ability to command. The first team breached through a maintenance lock Dravok had never considered worth guarding. Internal cameras flickered alive, clean corridors, startled crew, weapons lowered when human voices ordered them to stand down. Medical teams first, a human officer said calmly. If you're wounded, raise your hand. Dravok saw it too. His snarl faltered. Cowards, he hissed, then turned his attention inward. Initiating sequence. The countdown accelerated. Sail's heart hammered. Mara. Hold, she said. Another feed replaced the first, the denial array's control chamber. Dravok's senior engineers stood frozen as a human specialist severed power couplings with surgical care, isolating the array without triggering failsafes. The countdown stopped at 3. Silence followed, heavy and complete. Dravok stared at the dead timer. Something in his eyes collapsed. You should have killed me, he said softly. Mara answered him. That would have been easier. Human Marines reached the bridge moments later. Dravok didn't resist. He looked smaller without his command chair, his grand rhetoric stripped bare by quiet competence. As they led him away, he twisted toward Sail's camera feed. This is your doing, he snarled. You betrayed us. Sail met his gaze, voice steady despite the tremor in his hands. I warned you. The channel closed. The war ended not with surrender papers, but with 1,000 small decisions. Dominion fleets powered down one by one. Captains declared neutrality. Client systems accepted humanitarian convoys escorted by ships that had, days earlier, been their oppressors. The Senate convened in emergency session, not to posture, but to account. Sail stood before them again, this time with no holograms, no recordings. Only a statement. The war is over, he said. Because it failed. No cheers followed. Just the sound of an empire realizing it still existed. Dravok Kaur was placed in human custody pending a joint tribunal. His supporters dwindled as evidence stacked higher than outrage. The Dominion agreed to independent oversight of gate operations, to reparations, to reforms that would have been unthinkable a week earlier. On Vilay's Gate 9, traffic resumed its steady flow. The hospital barges left first, escorted by human cutters and Dominion patrol craft flying temporary ceasefire codes. Sail stood at the viewport beside Mara, watching the corridor breathe again. You could have taken territory, he said. Forced concessions. Mara folded her arms. Then we'd be managing resentment instead of stability. You saved us, Sail said, the words tasting strange. Mara shook her head. We saved the people who would have been crushed between pride and panic. What you do with what's left is up to you. A pause stretched between them. Comfortable now. What will the galaxy say? Sail asked. Mara allowed herself a thin smile. That humans are dangerous. And is that true? Yes, she said without hesitation. to empires that mistake cruelty for strength. Sale thought of the archive beads at his neck, of wars remembered only as lines in ledgers. "You didn't burn us," he said. "You could have." "We don't need to," Mara replied. "Ashes don't learn." Later, alone in a quiet corridor, Sale recorded his final report. He chose his words carefully, knowing they would outlive him. The Terran Compact does not conquer by force of arms alone. They identify the scaffolding that holds violence upright, then remove it piece by piece. They spare when sparing prevents recurrence. They strike only what must be struck. He sealed the report and sent it to every archive that mattered. As he finished, a message arrived from a junior senator, one who had mocked him days earlier. "Thank you for not letting us destroy ourselves." Sale closed his eyes. Outside, the Veli's corridor shimmered, alive with ships that carried food instead of fear. The Empire had not been reduced to ashes. It had come close. And somewhere in the vast dark, the galaxy learned a lesson it would not soon forget. Do not mistake human restraint for weakness.